Welcome to Unbroken with Yay. Pull up a seat and get ready for some real talk, raw healing, and a reminder that no matter what you've been through, you are still standing. You've got this. Hello and welcome to Unbroken with Yay. This episode we are looking at the paralyzing fear of surviving the financial drop. So what we're going to be talking about is if you are staring down the barrel of not knowing if you are going to be able to financially survive getting through a separation, a divorce, perhaps you're even recently widowed. That's what we're looking at today, is how to help ourselves with the anxiety, but also what can we use to help ourselves to get through this situation. Please join me. And we always hear advice about if you work and can make the money, that is your access to freedom, which is completely true, but you may not be in a position to be able to do that right now. I would love to work and make heaps of money, but I can't for whatever reason. And now I'm sitting here in paralyzing fear of how am I going to live? So that's what we're going to look at today. There are so many reasons why you might be in this situation. So there may be the fact that you have been that caregiver, you have stayed at home and you have raised children, and therefore your resume is pretty much blank. That doesn't put you in a great position to go out there and make your own money and all of a sudden become free. That is a very real and common problem, particularly for women who are usually the caregivers. The other issue that a lot of people face in regards to being financially vulnerable is the fact of if you are potentially an older woman and maybe you have become widowed, or maybe your partner left you to upgrade for a younger model, and now you are there sitting with adult age children and you have in your heyday foregone working and your education in order to assist caregiving to help your partner get educated. So once again, you're sitting there with a blank piece of paper when it looks at resume time and looking at going to get a job and making your own money and becoming financially independent. And then the third placement that someone may be sitting in this anxiety-ridden, paralyzing fear about their future could just be based on the difference of lifestyle. So they may have always had a double income house. And now they're looking down the barrel at, can I survive on one income? Particularly as a parent. And particularly if you are a parent that's going to have custody of the kids. Can I survive on, yeah, I work, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. These are very, very real fears that many of us are facing or have faced. I'm going to ask you to drop the shame internally. And hear me when I say this, your lifestyle may change, but your value does not. You are still of value. It doesn't matter if your bank account is all of a sudden quite empty. You still bring value to the table in a variety of ways. And I know because I've lived it. I've been the one that's been the 100% caregiver of multiple small children, and I couldn't afford to go to work because what I was about to get paid going to work was less than what I needed to pay for daycare and childcare. So sometimes these things are out of our control, and therefore we are essentially forced not to work because we can't financially afford to go into the office. Even though I had a huge resume and was very skilled, I still had value. It didn't mean that I wasn't of value. It just meant at that point in time, I did not have the financial resources to be at my best. So I was on bare minimum in regards to what I could spend, what I could save, and how we would live. And as I said, I've been there. I've done it. In my very first year of separation, I lived with my kids and I, which make up 4 people, and we were crammed in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment with shared beds. I got furniture off Hard Rubbish, and I made, via Centrelink and other charity resources, a total of $20,000 to cover every expense for the entire year for the 4 of us. That was it. And it makes me emotional thinking back to it of how did we survive? But it can be done, and I know because I've done it. And if I can do it, so can you. So let's look at some tools and resources and way just to reframe it and take all that pressure off our own shoulders and try and get rid of some of that shame, because it's incredibly humiliating to be a sole parent living below the poverty line. And let me remind you, like when I'm saying drop the shame, cool, that's really easy said than done, but keep it at the front of your mind of, do you and your kids have bare minimum? Do you have the bare essentials? Because if you're feeding your kids 2-minute noodles for dinner, guess what? Great, they ate. Are you somewhere that they get a bed at night and you've managed to keep them safe from the elements and there's a roof over their head? Great. Doesn't matter if it's not a luxury McMansion. So you're in a teeny tiny 2-bedroom and they got to share. You are still doing your best. Same as I couldn't afford to put my kids into extracurricular sport. But you know what I could do? I got a ball off Hard Rubbish and asked my neighbour to pump it up for me, and we would kick the ball in the driveway every afternoon. Great. They're still getting activity and exercise. It's about reframing it in your mind that you are doing your best and you're not giving up. And just because you don't have the financial resources you maybe once have, that does not diminish your value or the love that you are giving to these kids. You will be able to get back up that mountain. But at the moment you are stuck at the trenches, right at the bottom, you've got a big journey in front of you, but you can do it. As long as you are providing everything within your power that you can, that sustains bare minimum requirements, then that is a good start. Even uniform, right? So if my kid came home and he'd ripped part of his t-shirt, I couldn't even afford to buy the uniform from school with the logo. But I could afford a $5 new shirt from Best and Less. So you've got to acknowledge that you are putting in the hard yards to facilitate and provide these children with everything that they need. It might not be the glamorous version, but they're getting it. And they're getting all the love and support of the parent that's there with them. And when we lived in that teeny tiny apartment, which we ended up doing for multiple years, took me longer to get back on my feet than I anticipated, which is fine. When we were there, it was humbling. It was so humbling. My kids would complain. When we first moved there, they complained about sharing beds and sharing bedrooms and only having one bathroom. Oh no, we were spoiled. We had been a very spoiled family up until that point. And this was a very humbling experience for all of us, which weirdly enough, I'm grateful for, because it focused on the sentimentality and the love that we had within our family unit. And it didn't matter about the expensive gifts. We now would buy a cake from Coles for $5 and put Smarties on it. Cool. And then we would make up games and play them in the living room. It was no longer about expensive things in order to impress my kids or their friends or other parents. I just cut all of that out and we just focused on us. And it was all about making sure they felt loved, safe, and secure. My kids never went without love. And everything that we did, it bonded us. And all the things we did were very personal and very sentimental because we didn't have the actual physical stuff, the fancy games and balls and outfits. So we had to bring it back to bare minimum. And if you are trying your hardest, then that has to be enough because you don't have any more to give. We want to turn the tragedy of our current situation into a math problem. So you may have heard the saying, depression is worrying about what's happened in the past and anxiety is worrying about what's about to come in the future. So when you are living on bare minimum or below the poverty line, as I've done, you are riddled with anxiety and fear and worry of what if it's not enough? What if the money won't come through? What if? And as much as those concerns are completely valid, you want to be able to take the time to turn it actually into a maths equation. So sitting down and going, what do I actually need? What's my bare minimum? Or where can I get the extra $200? I'm going to have a $200 shortfall within 2 weeks. Maybe I can sell stuff on Marketplace. Maybe I can do a couple of hours cash in hand cleaning. I'll let the mums at school know that I'm available. So it's turning it into a math equation. It takes the personal worry out of it and it takes the anxiety about it. If you have the ability to budget, great. At the point in time when I was going through separation, I didn't know what I was going to have coming in and out of the door financially. So that obviously caused a lot of stress. So because I didn't know what money I would have coming in because I was doing, short-term temporary work here and there, I sat down and equated, well, what is the bare minimum? And I mean absolute bottom of the barrel that we need to survive. And of that, I also created a completely separate bank account for myself because I'm going through this separation. I want an independent bank account under my name and I can see that go from zero and go upwards. At some point, I'm going to be able to save. At some point, I am going to be able to turn this around. So it was all about looking at it like a maths equation and also trying to change that internal dialogue that I had with myself. I tried to change that internal dialogue that at that point in time, I was saying to myself, I just can't. I can't do this. I can't deal with this. I would say those things on repeat and then I would even hear the kids saying, what can't you do? Why can't you do it? And I caught myself and was like, I need to change this. I need to change how I talk to myself. I need to change my focus and I need to reignite that pilot light inside of me because I have started from nothing when I was young and built myself up. I can absolutely do it again. So we have got to keep focused on what is our new plan, our new end game, our new budget, and how we can make that work for us. So we want to look at planning over panic. Instead of going into panic mode, we want to go into planning mode. So as I said, the very first thing I did was I wanted to feel independent and create a separate bank account at a separate bank to any of the other banks my ex and I had ever used. I wanted to be independent and have my name on it. I am now in control. I am now the CEO of my own home without a partner. So, these are the next steps I'm going to take. The second thing I did was I got on the phone to Centrelink for hours and hours and hours. But in all seriousness, I got on the phone to Centrelink and I asked, what is available to me in my situation? Are there pensions? Are there parenting payments? Are there tax benefits? What can I use? What can I claim? What is available to me? Especially given I've been an Australian taxpayer for my entire adult life, this is now not the time to be proud. This is now the time for me to ask for assistance where I need it. If you have been through any form of domestic violence or financial hardship, there's also other resources. So same thing, I got online and worked out what charities are based near me that can help me based on my situation. And so I picked up the phone and I would bare my soul, and there were different ways that I was able to get assistance in paying rent or moving to a rental accommodation. So there was different ways that I could do that. So I implore you, got to do your research. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody else, unfortunately, is going to come in and save you. So we've got to save ourselves, particularly if we have dependents. And then the other thing we want to do is ask for help. And that is so hard. I was never a person that ever asked for help. I've always been completely independent. So to feel the shame and the embarrassment of going through not only a separation, but now I'm in this temporary position of financial ruin, how do I ask for help? So there are a whole bunch of ways that I ask for help, and these may help you open that door to asking people for help without saying, I don't have any money. I never asked friends or family for money. I never asked for a loan, and I didn't get a credit card. I wasn't interested in getting help that way, potentially because I'm a bit proud, but I knew that one day I'll be able to make it back via working. So I focused on asking for help in other ways. I would ask people for help by, can you look after my kids for an hour while I go look at a rental property or I go into Centrelink? I would ask for help by saying, you've got kids and my kids are all friends. Why don't you come over and can you just help me fold the wash? I'll make us a cup of tea. Kids will play out the back, but I just need some domestic help at home. It's getting on top of me. The dining table is covered in clothes. Can you come help me fold some washing and we can have a chat? And we did our catch-ups that way. I also would, if anybody had ever asked me, did I need anything? So people will be like, what do you need? How can I help you? I would say, please, I would love a meal. One home cooked meal, so there's one night a week I don't have to cook, would be so appreciated. Please. I would ask for help in other ways like literal cleaning. Can you come help me if I vacuum? Will you please mop? Because I'm trying to sell this house and my divorce settlement really is riding on us selling this house, but I can't afford a cleaner and there's too much for me to do on my own. And friends would come help me. When I was moving, I'd just say, hey, if I make lunch for everyone, will you please come help me move boxes? Please just put some boxes. If everybody comes and we put 4 boxes in each car, please help me. And they would do it gladly. And then the other way I would ask for help would be online. So in my area, and you need to check this out in yours, is we've got a whole bunch of great hard rubbish communities where they would give away for free old items from their homes. So I, reached out to my online community and said, hey, my kids and I would love a dining table. Does someone have one sitting around that they don't need anymore? And I went over and picked it up. So you can ask friends and family for, hands-on help. And then you can also ask in regard to the community and Facebook groups, hey, does anybody have an old pram? Does anybody have some soccer balls sitting around that don't get used anymore? My kids would love them. I might not say that I can't afford to buy them, but that's what it came down to, was I wasn't in a position to financially source all these areas of help, but there were levers I could lean on. And when people help you, it costs them nothing except time. And friends, family, and even strangers are happy to do it. So have a think about how you can ask for help, and it doesn't have to be a monetary value in a way that is going to drastically increases your happiness and your ability to do things within your own home. Don't be afraid to lean on friends and family and be vulnerable. It doesn't cost them anything to help you. It only costs them time. And if you have a great relationship with these people, they will gladly give it to you. And as I'm assuming you would do for them. And if you have ideas of ways that you can ask for help for free from friends, families, neighbors, your local cohort, please share them with me and I'd be happy to share them on. The next stage that we're going to look at is looking at your divorce, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I looked at my divorce like a business. So it's now taking our CEO hat and putting it on and trying to be clever and think outside the box. So I was in a position, which you may find yourself, where I couldn't get a rental because I looked bad on paper. I needed to get out of the marital home. It was going to be sold, but nobody would give me a rental. It was me, multiple kids. We were applying for places that were way too small because that's all I could afford. And I wasn't currently employed and I was living on Centrelink. And not one landlord wanted me to sign a rental agreement, which wasn't a shock, but it was incredibly discouraging. So I sat down and looked at what leverage do I have. So I had nominated myself as the conduit between our marital house and the real estate agents that were about to pitch to sell it. So I sat down with two of the best realtors in my area and said, I have the authority to pick who is going to get the listing and sell the home. So the very first thing I did was negotiate. Always negotiate. Always ask for a discount. I negotiated both of those top two real estate agencies down to 1% commission, which was well below half of what they had been asking for originally. So that already was a win. The second win that I got was using leverage. Now, I'm sitting there, I don't have a job, I'm living on Centrelink, I'm mid-separation/divorce, I've got 3 kids 100% of the time, and I'm not working. What leverage do I have? This, my friend. I said to the 2 real estate agents in front of me, if you want the listing to sell the marital home, I will give the listing to the first agency that come back to me with a rental lease for me and my kids within walking distance of their primary school. And they did. Within 24 hours, they came back to me and they had rental agreements lined up for me. Shitty 2 little bedroom apartments. I didn't care. I just needed somewhere safe, secure that I could move into with my kids while this legal battle and selling of houses and all this sort of stuff is still going on. I needed to use my leverage, and that was all I had. I had to hold the listing until I knew that one of these real estate agents was going to vouch for me and say, she looks bad on paper, but I know she's good for it. So that is how I manage to get into a rental as a single mother. Now, I know that's not going to be the case for everybody. I understand that. But the point that I am making is you need to put a really creative, out-of-the-box hat on and start thinking about your situation in regards to it being a business. So looking at my divorce like a business and seeing what can I negotiate? Who can I ask for a discount? Where can I get things for free? And do I have anything that I can leverage? So I refuse to let the numbers scare me. I really focused on the fact that I believe that the money will come in time when I am in a position to be able to work full time and all those sorts of things. But I also was very well aware that my peace of mind was the most important. I accepted that I can live on less while I'm in the process of building myself back up and building everything back up for me and my kids. Stop letting the numbers scare you. You can do this. You are in the trenches right now, but you will be able to get out of them. I know it's difficult, but if I can do it, anyone can do it. Please head to unbrokenwithyay.com.au and download the worksheet today, and it's got like a little budgeting chart, and use that as a resource, or at least, fill out all the blanks of who can you request to help you and in what ways. Have a look at ways that 1, you can save, and 2, you can spend less. So that's all in the free worksheet. Thank you for joining me. This is not the end of the road for you. You are starting a new chapter, a better one, an independent one, something that will take you on a really wonderful journey, but it is a rough start, it's difficult, and I understand. I've stood where you're standing and I have managed to get through it. So it's one step at a time, one day at a time. You have got this. You are completely unbroken. Until next time.